This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. In this episode, we have Sean Casto, CEO at PreApps. Sean, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's great. Thank you for coming. Okay, so in the 80s, the world was about personal computer. For the first time, people could put a computer on their desk. In the 90s, computer game became a thing. And the very last decade, starting 2009 until today, it's been a decade of mobile apps. Some of them had very short lifetime and failed to find its place in people's life. Some have been spectacularly successful. On this episode, we will be talking with Sean about the latter. But as always on this show, let's start with you, Sean. Let's talk about you. How did you get into the app marketing business?
Well, I've always kind of been into tech, and as a serial entrepreneur, I think as the App Store first launched, my passion really grew towards apps. So early age in high school, I launched a few different businesses. We're all around the kind of the Facebook era of kind of creating new dating apps and new social platforms. And then in college, that's when my really passionate addiction to the mobile app industry began, early when the App Store first started. And so I started building apps on my own. And then, it was when really launching these apps and understanding that the development side was fairly easy, but actually the marketing and getting out there into the consumers was very difficult. And I started to read the stats and connect with the community here in Boston, and how everyone is so passionate and excited about the products they were creating, but unfortunately 98% of them failed to be discovered. So at that age, very early on, when the first App Store launched, I really set on a journey to discover the systems, the process, and the frameworks that the most successful apps in the market implemented. And I founded my agency, PreApps, well over 9 to 10 years ago now, to be able to support and implement the same systems and frameworks for others.
Got you. So yeah, you do remember those early days of the App Store where the optimism about the new platform was kind of mixed with bitter feelings from folks who were failing to break through the noise, and was kind of they felt let down by the platform because they couldn't just reach their audience, their app users. Yeah, it was a pretty rough time back then.
It was the Wild Wild West. And to be honest, it still continues to be the Wild Wild West as Apple and Google algorithms continue to figure things out and adapt with the modern times.
Yeah, that's totally true. Wild Wild West has been on the wild ride for the last 10 years. So let's talk about PreApps. What is the PreApps today, and how would you position yourself in the market?
So at PreApps, our mission is to continue to be the #1 app marketing agency, providing world-class services designed to be able to help launch and grow mobile app businesses, helping both early-stage startups as well as established enterprise apps, achieve their business goals. And our amazing team has had the privilege over the years to work with some of the most successful billion-dollar apps out there across all 24 different categories, whether social, health, business, on the App Store and Google Play. And we're really the #1 in the world for what we do because we've mastered and developed these specific programs and systems over the past 9 to 10 years now to ensure our clients, achieve their goals. And I would say our bread and butter is working again with both early stage startups to launch their mobile apps successfully and achieve those initial, milestones that say launching successfully, building that brand, market validation, credibility, and going from 0 to 100,000 downloads, as well as the already successful apps to be able to scale further. Let's say they already have 100,000 or 1 million. Now they're kind of hitting a ceiling on their own to be able to scale. And that's kind of where we come into play. And so, we do what we do to be able to really transform the world for the better by helping our clients get their amazing products and services to the masses. So we're very selective on kind of who we work with. And because we, understand that this ripple effect of the companies that we work with ideally provide that positive impact to the millions, all throughout the world.
So looking back at, almost 10 years, the history of your company, do you see people's needs are changing? Or are they asking, for the most part, pretty much the same questions when they approach you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the overall fundamentals needs have been the same. How do I get my app to the masses? How do I ensure that my investment in building and developing this app won't go to waste? How do I make sure that we are going to be able to reach that initial goal of 10,000, monthly downloads, or let's say 100,000 downloads in 6 months, or even a million
Hmm.
downloads in a year? They're always looking for that roadmap and that path because for a lot of people, they're entering into the app space for the first time, and they need to understand how mobile app marketing works and how it differs from traditional marketing.
Right, got you. Okay, so now by this point, it would be really hard pressed to find somebody who doesn't know about such apps as Netflix, Uber, Instagram, Snapchat. Well, in fact, these are the platforms that started as apps. And despite the fact that they have completely different function, there's got to be some common denominator that set them on the path to become super successful. And so, Sean, tell me about the mindset app developers should have to reach out the same heights. And well, it's apart from the venture capital, but to be honest, venture capital, it's like fuel in your tank of your car. You may have a lot, but if you can't drive, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to be a good driver. It doesn't matter how much fuel you have in your car. So, tell me about the mindset that developers should have to be successful.
Absolutely. So, as you touched on, Netflix, Uber, Instagram, Tinder, they all have different features and functionality and even different consumers, yet they're wildly, wildly successful. Why is that? How did they get there? And there are definitely 100% common traits. And we've been able to kind of figure that out in terms of diving deep into the specifics mechanisms. But from a high level standpoint, let's just talk high level. What do these, have in common? And the truth is, any successful app business really comes down to two basic principles. Number one, attract high quality, high value customers at an affordable cost. And number
Mhm.
two, retain, nurture, and grow the value of your customers. If you notice, both any successful app, not just Netflix, Uber, Instagram, the ones you mentioned, but they always have those in common. And the problem that most face is they approach their app and they treat it more like a hobby and not a true
Right.
business. And you'll notice that Netflix, Uber, Instagram, these are true businesses. They're not just products, they're not just fun to use, but they're actual businesses. And so just going back to those two pieces, you must first attract high quality, high value customers at an affordable cost. And this is done through both organic and paid advertising, by the way. And then number two, retain, nurture, and grow the value of your customers. And this is done by having systems in place to be able to get users coming back to the app and monetizing them each time that they do. So I would say those are the two basic principles.
Yeah, probably people may have a hard time to realize that these two factors should exist, should be in place to be successful because they're looking at these apps like a consumer, and if you're using Uber app, it feels so natural. It's like a utility. You don't think about this is the app you're using, or it's just one of the functions of your phone, like placing a call or sending a text message. It's become part of your daily routine, and but there was a history behind the app. There was a history behind its success, how it became that popular by this point. And yeah, those two factors, you absolutely, we're on the same page. They should be there. Otherwise, you won't be able to pull off the same feed. It's a long-term game. It's a real serious business. You're not going to be able to pull off, thousands and thousands of app users within a month. You have to climb up that mountain and be really mindful. So since the dawn of the Apple's App Store back in 2008, we've been hearing about industry disruptors. They're everywhere. So, app companies that came to specific markets to change their status quo. How does the app disruption work?
Well, when it comes to app disruption, how we see it is looking at pure innovation in its purest form. And so, mobile apps have unleashed the opportunity for any business to have their product and service engaged with customers like ever before. You mentioned before how, your mobile phone essentially become an extension of your body. It's always within 3 feet of any human. It's amazing. And as a result, we've become profoundly more addicted to these products. And so in today's environment, when we look at disruption, we're looking at mobile really disrupting every aspect of business. And so before, back in the day, it was have a mobile website, and then it was mobile first, and then it was have a mobile app. Now we're looking at businesses having mobile only, right? Just an app. You don't even have a website. Your website will just be a contact page, if anything, for issues. And so we're looking at this app disruption, and we'll continue to see this app disruption, really looking at every aspect of business and industry. And so a great entrepreneur really takes a disruptive challenge and turns it into a disruptive opportunity. One thing we think about it is what Charles Darwin had always said. It's not the strongest that survive, nor the most intelligent that survive. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. And so it's all about really adapting to change and being forward thinking and looking at opportunities of how you can continue to leverage technology to change, the status quo, change what's currently working.
Right. You may have the greatest plan on the planet to go to the market, but if you just not capable to adapt to the current market environment and see how it can still be on the top, you're just going to lose. You have to be really flexible, mindful, and be up to date with what's going on, like the trends, what your competitors do. What does it take to innovate in the app space for you these days?
I would say, just like any other innovation, the key is to use creativity to spot disruptive opportunities. It's about solving your users' needs better than anyone else in the market. If you can do that, you will succeed. And when it comes to innovation, the key is, I think you touched on this earlier, is you don't want to fall in love with your product. It's the most common mistake that we see is so many early first-time app business owners and CEOs, and they just fall in love with their product. It sounds a little bit contradictory, but you must instead fall in love with your users, and solving in love with your users' needs and problems better than anyone else in the market. Again, if you can solve your users' needs better than anyone else in the market, you will succeed.
Yeah, there are many stories where apps were created by developers when they're trying to solve their own problems. It may be a good start point, like in your own experience, you found a real problem to solve, but it can be just a starting point. Then once you start solving that problem, you have to adapt to the specific needs of your customers, how exactly you're going to be doing the same problem solving for them to make it work for them, and giving them that constant reason to come back to the app and using it in their daily life and make it really useful. Not just, one day success and then people just get rid of the app and move on.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the growth marketing. You remember, back in the day, kind of circa 2009, 2013, like the first 4 years since the App Store was launched, when any app project came to the marketing phase, people were talking about a handful of app marketing techniques, but over time, the concept of the app growth marketing crystallized, and now it encapsulates lots of marketing hacks. People more searching for app growth. If you see the number of searches, popular topics on the conferences, it's not about app marketing, but app growth marketing specifically. So what is growth marketing today? How does it work?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I've never been a huge fan of marketing hacks, the term hacks, because they're just really not sustainable. You mentioned, back in the day, I was like, oh, what little hack can I do to figure out how to get just a 10,000 boost of downloads or 100,000 boost of downloads? Sure, that's great, but it's not sustainable. And so, in my opinion, growth marketing is really the process of driving your users to your app, to download your app and purchase what you're offering, while increasing the appreciation of your app in the process. And it's really about conveying how your app is both unique and irresistible. And so there's not just one size fits all type of growth marketing. It's really accumulation of the fundamental marketing initiatives that are working today and have worked for the past 10 years, as well as traditional marketing initiatives. What in most cases, apps don't fail because they didn't build the right app. They fail because of the lack of traction. And contrary to what most people believe, just building and launching an app in the App Store doesn't mean people will naturally discover and download it. There's more than 3,000 new apps launched every single day, and the chances of your app being discovered without effective marketing is really slim to none. And so when implementing growth marketing correctly, convincing users to download your app really becomes more organic. Effective marketing does your selling in advance, so that by the time consumers come to your app, they're already pre-interested, pre-motivated, pre-qualified, and predisposed to download your app instantly. And You asked the question again, what is growth marketing? It's not just one channel. It's not just one hack. It's not just one initiative. It's really leveraging organic growth seamlessly with paid advertising and word of mouth to make this cohesion, omnipresence for your app to be able to achieve your goals.
Yeah, I totally see what you say about hacks. This term kind of has been overused over time. You may come up with a specific hack, in a hard situation when you're kind of stuck, but you cannot use hacks, on a daily basis throughout the lifetime of your app project. There got to be sustainable practices, how you make sure that your app user base is growing and your business is sustainable in terms of you're actually making profit. You're not just burning your app marketing budget. So when you think about it, an app success on the market on a big scale is based on such notions as virality and retention. So what does it take today to make an app viral, and how to make sure that people actually use the app, not just abandon it after the first use and they're gone?
Yeah, I would say contrary to what most people believe, apps don't really go viral by accident. I think virality is strategically engineered. There's a science behind why people talk and share about a particular app. There's actually books on the subject. Hell, I have a book on the subject. And so, it really goes down to the basics of viral growth engines, and it's about leveraging viral mechanics embedded within your app in order to get people to share it. Companies like Uber, Facebook, Twitter have entire teams dedicated to what they call kind of growth engineers. They don't call themselves hackers or any of that nature. They call them growth engineers, and their specific role is to look at how do we engineer virality into the app and new features and functionality. And so the first fundamental step to go viral is the basics, is you must first deliver an exceptional experience people will never forget. If you build something people really don't want, then they're not going to obviously share it. But if you do build something people really want and give them a compelling reason to share it, your customers will actually grow your app business for you. Viral products generate exponential growth because they leverage each acquired customer. And they kind of build this self-sustaining user acquisition machine. That's what all the top apps have incorporated. And so when you think of virality, you want to think of how do we create this and build a self-sustaining user acquisition machine where leveraging each acquired customer to build and grow our additional customers there on out. And so here's the key. That most miss is you must actively give your users a compelling reason to share your app with others, such that others repeat this behavior. Most people think, I'm building this cool, amazing, innovative new app, and just because it's great, people are going to share it. It doesn't necessarily work that way. And so, incentives cause conversation, which leads to referrals. And so if you look at a lot of the most successful viral apps out there, they usually had some sort of referral aspect. And it's what we call the win-win referral system. And so, how that win-win referral system works is, a user downloads the app and likes it, and then he or she is offered a small incentive to share the app. The friend who downloads the app also received a small bonus for downloading. The friend who downloaded the app is also offered another small incentive to share the app further with additional friends, and the cycle continues. But it's a win-win referral system because both parties look great for sharing the app. A good example would be, Uber when they first, Starbucks is another good one. Exactly. I mean, every successful billion-dollar app has that incorporated in some degree. And Uber was one of the bigger ones early on to be able to provide that incentive to be able to first, get the credit. So you get about $25 credit when you first download the app. And if you share it with someone else, they get credit and you get credit. And then obviously you can also share and split the ride. So there's all these additional continued incentives to be able to share the app with friends in the community and kind of create that system in place.
Yeah, I vividly remember my experience of sharing Dropbox when it just started, and I was gaining some extra space by sharing the app with my friends.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I remember getting those extra gigabytes.
They were one of the first pioneers to kind of incorporate that, and so that they're the model that Uber had adopted, and Airbnb and many others.
Great, that's awesome. Our conversation would have been complete if we haven't touched money aspect. How do apps make money today? What model among all is the most effective?
Sure. I mean, when it comes to today's model, there isn't really one model that is the most effective. I mean, I'm sure your listeners are already familiar with all of the main top models, in-app advertising and in-app purchases, subscription, etc. And so
Yeah.
there isn't really one model that is like, oh, this is the go-to model. The key to maximizing revenue is to take your users through a process that provides continual value over time. This is what all the successful businesses, not just apps, but all successful businesses call a value ladder. And this concept is take the user through a process that gives them more value through every stage of the relationship to a point where they begin to continually give you more and more money over time. And so each step offers additional value, and the higher you go up, the more expensive the offerings. And so to really answer your question, the most successful apps in the market, for example, Tinder. I mean, Tinder makes $120 million in sales a month, $120 million a month. And so Tinder is a great model to look at. And if you'll notice, Tinder doesn't just do in-app advertising. They don't just do advertising. They don't just do subscription. They actually do every business model and combine them all together through, again, what they call a value ladder, building that relationship and getting people to first maybe opt for that one-time in-app purchase, and then it's multiple. And so the key for Tinder is they leverage every business model, advertising, discounted offers, multi-tier subscription models. They don't have just one subscription offer. They have currently two available. And I think one all the way up to like $100 a month. And so, in their last quarterly letter to investors, Tinder's reported that over 6 million people are paying to be subscribers between those two different subscription models. And so it's about really providing that continual value and leveraging each business model to fit in each step in what we call a value ladder. And that's really the most profitable way to succeed in today's environment.
Yeah, it's an awesome point. If you think about it, people obviously different in how they perceive the value of the app, how much it does for them, like how they appreciate the specific function it has, and their wish to either pay for a net purchase or go into subscription, or basically pay a few bucks to turn off the ads in the app. People are different, and if you have all models implemented in your app, you have the best chances to please the widest audience, right?
Exactly. And the more value that you give them through each stage of the relationship, the more they're inclined to give you more money and go to that higher tier, package.
All right. In your opinion, Sean, looking at the future of apps, what's coming in the app space? What do you see will be the next big thing?
Well, I think this is a very exciting time in our industry, as the industry is definitely maturing from where it was before, like the Wild Wild West that we talked about. But we're entering an age now where innovation is going to come down to applying multiple different technologies into a specific category. And so I see many of the hot themes that we're seeing now continue to further and dive into existing app categories. For example, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology being applied to every type of app category. AI and artificial learning being applied to every type of app category, from gaming to social to banking. And also another big thing is going to be privacy as well. But I think we're in a unique space now where we're going to continue to see and evolve a number of different features into a particular app. So, for example, there's a new amazing app called Compete that we just launched, and they're leveraging social kind of dating as well as cryptocurrency and blockchain technology all into one. So you're seeing, these types of morphs of industries kind of all providing various different types of value within a particular type of category. And so it's just really, really exciting time.
Yeah, I see, definitely. And I would say there's just one more thing, that if you think about all these years when the apps, since the inception of the app stores, every year the next innovation in apps was fueled by new technology, like going to 3G speed, then creating better camera, providing geolocation, the geolocation capability to your smartphone, etc., etc. At this point, it's about augmented reality. We're talking about 5G, and even though it's not really there yet, but it's coming. So yeah, I would expect by the end of this year, early next year, 5G will be really a big factor, like to expand the horizon for apps, basically, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and Internet of Things as the tech is not just not possible without 5G, right? So developers just should be aware that this is what's coming, and the capabilities, the new horizon will be there. Just have to be ready and see how you can actually implement that new tech in your app and make it more useful for people.
Exactly. It's really staying up with the latest technology and trends and understanding what Apple and Google kind of have in their pipeline of what's to come in terms of their software, because they can obviously highlight your product if you're highlighting, their latest innovation of software, like you mentioned, whether it's augmented reality or whatnot. And so I think it's just really, if you're the developer and in the front space of innovation right now, you really want to make sure that you're staying up with what's latest and what is really going to be driving Apple and Google in the coming years.
Absolutely. Okay. We're at this point of the show where I have just one more, actually, just a few more questions to you. And they're not related to the topic. I just want to let people who are listening to the show to know go a little bit better. So the question number one will be, what smartphone do you have now? Have you been switching between iOS, Android, and back, or staying in the line all the time?
Well, as a company, since we live and breathe mobile, we actually have, every device here at the office. But in terms of personal use, what I use personally,
in your pocket.
Yeah, in my pocket right now, I have the latest iPhone Pro Max.
All right, gotcha. So
I've personally just been iOS fan all along. I've never actually transitioned personally to Android. Obviously, we use Android at the offices, but personally, for personal use, I've always been more geared towards iOS.
All right, so let's take a quick look before the pre-smartphone era. Do you remember your first mobile phone?
Oh, absolutely. My first mobile phone was the exciting Razr. Remember the Razr back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one. And I love that kind of flip phone. It was like super thin. It was like kind of the hottest thing at the time. And I remember being super, super excited about having that.
Yeah, I think in a few years we will have to read there's going to be a movie about that phone, because people will not be able, like kids today will not be able to appreciate like our excitement about the flip phone back then.
Right, exactly.
So right now, imagine you've left your smartphone at home. What would be the most missing feature for you?
My first thought of the missing feature would honestly be my calendar. It's probably not what you would originally think, but it'd be my calendar. I live and breathe looking at my calendar. I use an app called Fantastical. I think it's actually Fantastical too. And it's a great calendar app. And I live and breathe through my calendar and understanding, what the day's objectives are. And so if I don't know what my schedule looks like, then then I don't know what to do with myself. And so it'd definitely be my calendar.
I got you. So what new app technologies are you most excited about? Like when you're looking at your phone, your iPhone 12 Pro Max, what do you think is missing at this point? Like, what are you waiting for? Probably, bigger battery, lighter, the glass more durable, or it could be software, could be both.
Yeah, from a hardware standpoint, I mean, I would love it for it to be thinner and lighter. For some reason, I feel like we've been going away from that route over the past few years, and it's just kind of getting bigger and heavier to a degree, and we kind of lost that unique innovation that like every year was going to be thinner and lighter, and so we've kind of lost that piece from it. So that's from a hardware standpoint. From a technology standpoint, I mean, I'm honestly overwhelmed currently with what's available. We connect with 10 to 20 new apps and app developers a day. And so there's just so much in terms of technology out there and such amazing products out there. There's nothing that comes to mind in particular. For me personally, I'm looking at more of removing distractions. And there's a reason why I don't have an iWatch because, I want to be away from distractions and away from notifications as opposed to continue to be distracted from it.
Yeah, funny enough, but Apple is kind of looking in the same direction. I'm sure some of our listeners have watched the WWDC keynote just yesterday, and actually Apple has taken this angle of making sure that people have a choice to be either focused on their work or leisure, like kind of setting the stage by one setting, like switching, just daily routine. If you're working, you shouldn't be distracted by any apps that are related to, watching movies and stuff, and vice versa. So kind of making these zones you have in your daily life on your phone easier and be less distracted, like exactly what you're saying. It's actually a good update for iOS 15. We'll see how it goes. But from what was seen, what was presented, it's pretty awesome. It should be really helpful for people to organize their life better.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for that.
Cool. Now, before I let you go, just very final question. How can people get in touch with you and get more information about what you do?
Absolutely. Well, if those listening, if you need help marketing your app to be able to reach your goals, you might be interested in applying to speak with one of our app growth specialists to see how our agency can help you reach your goals. And so if you're interested in that and want access to that, just go ahead and look up our company, which is PreApps. So go to preapps.com, preapps.com, and you can get some more details about our agency and how we can help you.
Terrific. Thanks a lot for your time and coming on our podcast, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye. And that was Sean Casto, CEO at PreApps. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Just search for Business of Apps and you will find us easily. We release episodes on Mondays, so subscribe and you will be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please don't forget to leave us a review and comment on iTunes. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.